Hello everybody, my video today is 15 things you're going to need to know if you're thinking about moving to Prescott, Arizona. So if you're looking in the state of Arizona and thinking about a place you might want to move to, you're going to want to watch this because I'm going to tell you everything you're going to need to know if you're thinking about moving to Prescott. So stay tuned and I'm going to answer those questions for you in just a minute. So the channel is Living in Northern Arizona. Well, I will tell you everything you've ever wondered about what it's like to live in Northern Arizona, which would be Flagstaff, Sedona, Verde Valley, Prescott, Pace and Pine Strawberry. So if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up because that'll help other people who are looking for this type of information to find the channel and they'll be educated as well. My name is Dawn Dickinson and I live in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. I am a real estate agent here in the northern half of Arizona, and people actually reach out to me all the time by phone, text, email, or even going to the link in my calendar, which I always put in the description below, and they ask me questions about northern Arizona. Occasionally they'll find out, yeah, I like it here, or that's probably not for me. Sometimes they become clients and I help them purchase a home or property here in Arizona, so you could do the same thing. If you're curious about it, just give me a call, text, email, and I will get back to you. Okay, the first thing you need to know about Prescott is about how many people live in Prescott, Arizona. Well, let me tell you, the latest census said there were about 45,000 people living in Prescott. Now, Prescott, they kind of call the area, there are other towns nearby, they kind of call it the Quad City. So you'll have Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and Dewey-Humboldt. They're all right there. Prescott Valley, for instance, has about 47,000 residents. And between Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and Dewey-Humboldt, there are just about 109,000 people. So it's not really big, kind of still a small town, but yet bigger than a lot of the tiny towns you might find here in northern Arizona. Topic number 2, how old are the residents of Prescott? Well, let me tell you, the average age in Prescott is a little bit higher than the national average at about 56.6. Now, that could be skewed a little bit because there are quite a few retirement communities in Prescott, which is really nice if you're older and it's a good place to retire. Now, one thing to think about in the retirement communities that I don't like, some of them have some rules that I found a little bit intrusive. Okay, for me, the big thing is number of pets. A lot of especially the mobile home parks will say only 2 pets you're allowed, and I'm like, 2 pets, come on. What if you got a goldfish? Are they going to count that as a pet? They probably do. Like, say you have a dog and a cat and maybe a canary. I mean, a tiny canary. Oh, nope, that's too many pets. So if you don't like rules, but you see a property you might be interested in, give me shout out and I can call the community and find out, or I can call the listing agent and say, will you find out what is the maximum number of pets, or any other rules that you might be worried about. So another thing about average age, of course, the surrounding areas, Prescott Valley, the average age is of 44.4. So Prescott itself will have a high average age, and then the surrounding and the Quad Cities will have a lower average, in case you're just wondering how old are the people that live in Prescott. Number 3, what is the cost of living in Prescott? Well, let me tell you, Prescott is a little higher than the rest of the state. The cost of living index is 122. So I've probably told you about this before because I use it in a lot of my videos. The cost of living index is put together by an agency, and they do every major city in the country. The national average is 100, and they take into account things like taxes, price of housing, automobiles, transportation, health care, child care, and they come up with this national cost of living index. So Prescott, 122, higher than the national average of 100, slightly higher than Phoenix. Probably that would be skewed because the cost of housing has gotten pretty high in 2022. median home price in Prescott is $509,000, which of course is a lot. Now, if you go to neighboring Prescott Valley, the cost of living index is only 108. Probably again, the housing price average or median there is in the high 300s. I think it's 379. So if you like Prescott, but you're not sure you want to live in Prescott itself because the price is too high, you could go into neighboring Dewey Humboldt or Prescott Valley, Chino Valley. That's what the cost of living is there. Number 4, Prescott is the home of the prestigious Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So if you have a child in middle school or high school that wants to be an aerospace engineer, you might want to move to Prescott just so you can get all settled in by the time your child goes to college. You could be close to Embry-Riddle. Now, Embry-Riddle is marked, or rated I should say, #1 aerospace engineering university in the entire country, rated by U.S. News and World Report, and there are about 2,800 undergraduate students attending that university. So very interesting fact, the prestigious Embry-Riddle. Number 5, what is the weather like? Well, let me tell you, Prescott is at, I think it's 5,374 foot above sea level. So that puts it in a very mild climate. In the summertime, your average temperatures are going to be in the high 80s, like 88, 89. The record high was 105. In the cold part of the winter, it's going to be in the high 20s, 25, 28. So it'll get below freezing, but not like the Dakotas say, where it's negative all the time. But there has been a very low temperature as the record low, -21. And so it can get in the negatives, but most of the time in the winter time it's going to be in the 20s. So to me, that's pretty cold. It's going to be colder than, say, Sedona, where I live. But okay, so number 6. Interesting fact about Prescott is Prescott was originally the state capital of Arizona in 1864. Prescott, the state capital, but in 1889 it moved to Phoenix. So currently a state capital is in Phoenix, but a long time ago state capital was in Prescott, and it's possibly that's why Yavapai County, Prescott is in Yavapai County, a lot of the original county service buildings are in Prescott. So when I call the county all the time for questions. I'm sure they're sick of me calling, but like if I call with a zoning question, for instance, I'm going to be directed to the county office in Prescott for Yavapai County. So interesting, once the state capital, no longer, but interesting fact about Prescott. Okay, number 7 is the crime rate. So not too bad of a crime rate in Prescott. It's actually for what they call violent crime. It's lower than the national average. Prescott is 20.7, where the national average is 22.7. Violent crime is actually quite bad. It's murder, assault, rape, the super violent crimes. So property crimes, however, Prescott is slightly above the national average, 37.2, where the national average is 35.4. So again, on both of those indicators, pretty close to the national average, but lower on violent crime, slightly higher on property crime. Okay, number 8 is property tax. Now, Arizona has a pretty favorable property tax rate. It's way better than neighboring California, and even Texas, which has a decent cost of living, has very high property taxes. So sometimes people compare Arizona to Texas. Texas, much higher property tax than Arizona. So as a rule of thumb, the formula they use to calculate property tax is a little bit complicated. It's like 0.72 of the assessed value. That's way too much for me to figure out. As a general rule of thumb, I take about 0.5% of the home value in the recent years. So if your house is worth $400,000, your property tax for the year is probably going to be $2,000. So generally, a very high level, if you want to calculate it in your head, about 0.5% of your property value you can come up with for property taxes, which is way less than, like I say, California or any of the states on the East Coast and Texas. So favorable property taxes here. And the state taxes, I think sales tax is outrageous, but it's probably not as bad as some of the other states nearby. Okay, number 9, where is Prescott located? Well, Prescott is actually in the center part of the state. So it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Phoenix. maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours from Flagstaff, nice centrally located in Yavapai County. Now, if you want to get to Sedona, where I live, it's about an hour. And the only reason that is because you have to go around the Mingus mountain range. So I have to go all the way around the mountain. If there were no mountain ranges, I could get there in probably 35 minutes, but because I have to go around, 35 minutes from Sedona. Now, another thing is it's north of the Bradshaw Mountains and yet south of the Mingus mountain range. Okay, number 10, what are the major employers of Prescott? Well, you've got Yavapai Medical Center would be the top employer. Also Yavapai County. Like I say, all of the county offices, most of them are in Prescott. So when I call about zoning, which is I frequently do, or about flooding, I'm going to call county offices, and those people are usually Prescott residents. So Yavapai County is one of the bigger employers. Yavapai College, Embry Riddle, Walmart, City of Prescott, those are the bigger employers in Prescott in case you're looking for jobs. Okay, number 11, what is there to do and see in Prescott? Well, let me tell you, it's very close to the National Forest, Prescott National Forest. So if you're into hiking and mountain biking and sightseeing and riding the side-by-sides, there is very close to Ponderosa Pine Forest, say. There's also some lakes there, so you can go boating, and there's golf courses and a lot of the outdoorsy stuff to do. Now, you can go to Whiskey Row and go to bars. You can go shopping. There's this cute little square downtown. My friends and I usually go there at least once a month to go shopping and hit the restaurants because it's kind of fun. Lots to do. There definitely is a lot to do in Prescott, so probably more so than in Verde Valley when it comes to shopping and that kind of stuff. All right, number 12 are what are some notable things and unique things about Prescott, Arizona. Well, let me tell you, the first thing I love about Prescott is just south of the downtown, there are a bunch of these really cool looking Victorian homes. I mean, very unique. It's hard to believe it's Arizona when you see it. And I was there once on Halloween. I was showing properties and I'm coming back. I drove through and the place was all lit up. Everybody was decked out and the kids were walking around, and really interesting to see Victorian homes lit up like that. But even any time of the year, they're just beautiful to look at. Another thing is there's a place called the Granite Dells, or they call it the Dells. And what it is this area that's north of Prescott, and there's these great big granite boulders everywhere, like huge boulders. In fact, there's a couple of lakes in there. I think it's Willow and Watson Lakes. And in the lakes, there's these big old boulders sticking up. So something very interesting that you would like to, if you're into sightseeing, you definitely want to go through there. Then downtown, there's a square downtown, and there's Whiskey Row. There is the Hotel St. Michael, which I've stayed at before, very old hotel, a little bit haunted. And there's really cool bars and restaurants and shopping in that little downtown square. That is something you definitely have to visit. I go there every year, probably go there once a month with my girlfriends just to go shopping and looking around just to have a fun day. Definitely don't want to miss the downtown square and Whiskey Row if you can do that. Okay, so number 13, what about the schools? People often ask about the schools. So there is the Prescott Unified School District that has about 4,000 students, and let me say the schools in Prescott get about a B rating on niche.com. Prescott Unified School has slightly above the state average in test scores, so that's good. There's Prescott High School that has maybe 1,500 students. Now there is Basis Prescott. So let me tell you about Basis. Basis is one of these college prep, high-ranking academic schools in Arizona. There's, in Flagstaff, say there is Basis Flagstaff. There's Basis Prescott. In the valley, there's Basis Scottsdale, Basis Ahwatukee. So I sent my son to Basis Ahwatukee in the 8th grade. Now my son is high functioning autism, and we went to the school. Autistic people are often very smart but have terrible time communicating and understanding rules, some of the basic stuff. So I brought him to Basis Ahwatukee. They're like, oh yeah, we love to have him. And I think the schools, if you got a disabled child, they get more money from the state. So that's their incentive to get my autistic child in the school. But then as soon as he got there, it was a constant struggle with them. You know, they're giving me a hard time. Now he has a 504. Any of you have a disabled child will know what a 504 is. It's special rules that the state, I think it's even national, that schools are required to work around with your child because they have a disability. So we had one in the 504 that he was allowed to turn in his homework up to a day late. And the reason is he would have homework in his backpack and forget to turn it in. So rather than have him fail, we would have this 504 saying that he could turn it in a day late. But some of the teachers, they were like, nah, we're not going to do that. If we do it for him, we could do it for anybody. And I'm like, no, you can't. He's got a 504, and not everybody in the school does. So I would always be down there arguing with these teachers, arguing with the faculty. I really thought I was going to have to hire a lawyer and get them to do what he is legally required to by the state, and then the school year ran out and that's it. I pulled him from there and put him in public school. So if you have a disabled child of any kind and they tell you, probably this is true of all the charter schools, but you have a disabled child and they say, oh yes, we could accommodate them, don't trust them. Probably the best place for a disabled child is in the public school system, unless you have like the school for autism, which we had down here. My son didn't like that. So now that I'm off my high horse about basis Prescott, there's also Prescott College and Yavapai College, all in Prescott. So very nice school system. I would never send a kid to basis anything just because of the way they treated my child with autism. But again, if you just have a brilliant child, that could be a place for you to put him or her. Okay, number 14, is there anything else I need to be aware of when I'm thinking of moving to Prescott? And let me tell you, there are a couple things. One is that there's a slightly higher chance of flooding or forest fires if you live in Prescott compared to the rest of the state. When I say rest of the state, you're probably thinking of Phoenix and Tucson. There is one thing on the tax record. I can look up the FEMA zone for you. So there are more than you would like to see homes in flood zone AE, which is only a slight chance of flooding, but you're gonna possibly need to get flood insurance. So I can't even go into the MLS and say only look at flood zone X. Flood zone X is what you want and a very low chance of flooding. I can't say exclude flood zone AE because a lot of the listing agents, why they do this, I don't know if they're trying to deceive you or what, but they'll put verify on the flood zone. So verify, you just look it up in the tax record and there it is. Is it X? Is it AE? So I can't do only flood zone X for you. So if you're looking at properties and you see something, don't forget to ask me to look up the flood zone if I forget to do that for you. So the other thing is slightly higher risk of forest fires, right? You're right bordering national forest. Just last April, we had a forest fire in Prescott, or probably the mountains just south of Prescott, so slightly higher risk of forest fires. Now, let me tell you a story. On June 30th, 2013, there was just south of Prescott in Yarnell. If you've heard of the Granite Mountain Hot Shots, there was a huge forest fire. 19 firefighters were out battling the fire and the wind shifted and 19 of them died. So very, very sad story, but that goes to show you that forest fires can be a serious problem. Now, probably not in Prescott Valley, you know, that's not the forest, but just south is Bradshaw Mountain Range, and there are a lot of big ponderosa pine trees. Risk of forest fires. If you're scared of forest fires or flooding, you might want to rethink moving to Prescott. And number 15, this is something I hate talking about, but people will ask me about it, the political climate. People will say, oh, I don't want to be living next to any Republicans, or I don't want to live next to any Democrats. And I'm like, all right, if you must know, Prescott is probably the same as the rest of Yavapai County, where it's about 2/3 registered Republican and 1/3 registered Democrat. Now, I don't see people fighting over politics in any of Yavapai County. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but if you're extremely sensitive, just know that that's what the political mix is in Prescott and in Yavapai County. So that's it. 15 things you're going to want to know before you consider moving to Prescott. My name is Dawn Dickinson. I am a real estate agent here in Northern Arizona. If you have a real estate question, don't be afraid to give me a call, a text, an email, or go below in the description and there's a link to my calendar and we can set up a Zoom call or a phone call. And this way you'll know. We can talk and you'll know, should I rule out Northern Arizona, or is it something that I'd be interested in and I could work with you to help you find a home or a place to live when you're moving here. The channel, Living in Northern Arizona, I put out videos every single week about moving or living in the northern half of the state, so be sure to subscribe. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, and I hope to see you back here again next week.